it's important to understand, because, like, I've done this enough times to recognize it, that, like most fascists, that guy believes and also doesn't believe most of what he said. So the problem, obviously, the problem with that convo is that he will just state things that are factually untrue, and anytime, like, a clarifying follow-up is pointed, he'll either double down on it, or he'll just move to another thing. There's no actual point in a conversation. You legitimately might as well argue with a magic 8-ball. But as is often the case with people like that, he simultaneously does and does not believe the stuff that he's saying. You've probably noticed that before with, like, 4chan-type fascists, where, like, they'll say some obviously ridiculous shit, and the extent to which they believe it is kind of determined by how well the comedic element of what they've said goes over. That's why I called him anti-empiricist from the beginning. Though I didn't think he'd be that bad. Did he ever figure out that you were making fun of him? I think he figured it out at the last bit right there, and that's why he left in that fashion, which was fairly embarrassing. I mean, obviously, like, oh man, I don't want to be super mean, but guys, remember when I was going over the Caleb Maupin stuff? And I was like, don't feel too bad for these guys, because even though they're victims of an abusive cult, they're still fascists? Right? I mean, keep in mind, like, this is the type of person we're dealing with here. We're dealing with people who, it's not just they got suckered into the cult, like, it's a fascist cult. So, you know, yeah. How do you deal with people who don't care about the truth or what they say or don't feel ashamed about it? You can't. There's not actually a way. The only thing that you can do with people like that is humiliate and abuse them. That's it. Like, if you're arguing with them, the only thing you can do is make them cry. I know that sounds like overwrought, but it's completely true. Like, if you're arguing with somebody like that, it stops being about the arguments, and it's entirely about, like, bullying them. Because if they, like, get flustered or look weak or whatever, I didn't want to go super hard against that guy, because, again, like, he did literally, like a week ago, he was in a cult. Like, an actual proper cult, you know? But, like, damn, man. He's not exactly, abundant of moral character. Sheesh. The Nanking bit was crazy. Yeah, him not knowing about the rape of Nanking, I guess it really does, like, it really does indicate that the only political education these guys have is a collection of talking points about how America's bad and countries that aren't America are good, you know, but that, and, like, that's it. There's no political education outside of that. My mouth actually fell open. Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was pretty fucking insane. Basically on the tier of Holocaust denial? Yeah. I hope so. Maybe this can serve as a reinforcement of what I said before. This is what I mean when I say that I actually find it easier to talk with Nazis than I do people like that. First of all, I don't believe there's that much of a, like, difference in their ideologies. If you got into, like, the root of it, he would defend any genocide or ethnic oppression done by any of the states that he defends, you know? Syria, China, India, you know he'd defend Modi. Russia, anything. Like, the death count, the total death count of, like, all the stuff that he would defend, yeah, like, would rack up into the millions easily. Yeah, so it's, you know, obviously just in, like, the flat moral equivacy, I think there's something there. But additionally, like, with regards to the Nazis, usually they're delusional on, like, a collection of issues that I'm kind of, like, prepared for. Like, I know the talking point, it's, you know, they have all the same talking points about, Holocaust denial, like the camps, you know, they're all like, ooh, wooden doors, swimming pools, blah, blah. I know these talking points. And you can argue against them point by point. Not to say they'll listen necessarily, but you can. But in his case, I'm sure you guys noticed, that guy is delusional about, like, 80% of all things. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just a collection of things, it's all things, even remotely affiliated with any of these topics, which just makes it very difficult to have a conversation. Oh my god, Vaush, I just realized I met that guy IRL in New York City, and he was like, you blocked me on Twitter? Huh, wonder why. Jesus. That's wild. Well, I guess that guy gets outside, somewhat, then. Do you think that cultist could be turned to our side? No, I think that guy is as far from a good potential comrade as any person can be. I mean that sincerely. I would prefer almost any, like, literally almost any group, any member of any group, before I would, like, go to that group right there. Which is why it chafes me so much that they call themselves socialists. The fact that he said revisionism wasn't a thing, the fact that he said that Marx was, like, incorrect on points of self-determination and, like, democracy being preferable to authoritarianism, yeah, just oof. Oof, 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 oof. Wild stuff out there. Oh yeah, here is the Twitter co-post from him right after the fact. This is what I mean about them not actually believing anything. I mean, it's obviously this guy is susceptible to cult mentality because he was literally in a cult, so now he's, like, mocking, or not mocking, sorry, he's, mimicking, Infrahaz. So I guess this guy's whole life is going to be him, like, Frankenstein cobbling together other people's mannerisms. But anyway, like, behavior like this, you know, there's not much to be done outside of mocking them, really. This tweet confirms he only did it for the clout. With respect, who the fuck cares? He's literally homeless. That's why he filmed that from an alley. He's been open about this. He lives in an abandoned house. He just got out of a cult. I'm in a nice house and I'm rich. Like, what am I going to do? Get mad about that? As far as remember what I said before about political mental illness? Like, as far as I'm concerned, in a functional sense, he's mentally ill. Like, you can't have politics like that and be well-ordered in the mind. I don't care what anyone has to say about that. I'm right, and I'll die thinking that I'm right on that. So, like, I don't, like, whatever, man. I get that feeling sometimes from people. I got that feeling from Mel, too, where they have so little going for themselves that just, like, the feeling of elation that they get from the attention and the engagement from, like, you know, being dunked on online is like the main thing they like. Fuck. Oh, fuck. Shit like that actually depresses me, man. Oh, God. I'm not playing it up for a bit. I actually, just give me 1 second, okay? We have politics to talk about. Just give me a second. Fuck. I knew this would be a bad idea. I mean, I had fun with the convo, don't get me wrong. It's just like, holy shit. He actually did win. He did psychic damage. Yeah, I guess so. You mean politically, mentally unwell isn't someone whose opinions and political action serves to work against them? Well, I think that about a lot of people. No, it's more just that, like, the level of anti-empiricism, the level of detachment from reality that you have to have those ideas, it like mimics or parallels mentally unwell behavior, you know? Group of tents in Seattle are actually the last capitalist communes left in the great socialist United States. Yeah, talking with the Yankee Tankie and doing the whole, like, ironic American chauvinism thing was funny as fuck. I don't know, like, I hope everyone, because I know people in the comments of the video are going to be like, you should have engaged with his talking points. I ask you, fucking how? I beg of you to tell me how, okay? I've engaged with many points in my life. Sometimes the conversation is a two-way street, you know. I would be more annoyed with him if he was some prominent grifter with, like, you know, a big paycheck or whatever, but, you know, it's circumstances allowing. The free munitions to Laos joke was the hardest I'd laughed in a while. You're wrong for that, but it was so out of left field I laughed so hard. That one was so fucking funny. Especially since we had that whole, like, serious look over all the bombs and landmines we dropped over Laos, all the cluster munitions just a couple of weeks ago. And it's like, yeah, we're taking back the stolen wealth that they yoinked from our super fortresses, our B-52s, as they flew over Laos. So you can imagine, like, poor American, like, planes flying over Laos, and then a bunch of, like, sinister Laos villagers with magnets, like, pulling the cluster bombs out of the bombing bay of our fucking planes, you know, like, stealing our resources. Fuck. The B-52s are, like, trying to shake them, the magnet lock, you know. He didn't even get it too. I mean, he did not know what you were talking about. Well, I've said this before. One of the best ways to keep yourself from falling into political mental illness is being able to understand jokes and satire when they're being done by the other side. Very, very, very important. Critical, even. Now, this gets a bit fuzzy because Nazis and, you know, people like that, they tend to do the fake irony thing where they'll say something they really believe, but they'll make it, like, sound a little sillier than normal. So when they get criticized on it, they can pretend they don't believe the whole thing, but they really do believe the thing. And, like, Sam Hyde tier shit, yeah, they can pull that. And you have to be able to identify when they're doing that as well, but that's more of an advanced technique. It can be, that's because they're being very dishonest. It can be difficult. But if there's a person you disagree with, but they're making a real, like, genuine joke or something, you should be able to parse that out. Conservatives have a bad sense of humor, so they don't throw it out that often, but, like, if you were talking to a conservative or something, and they were like, you're, like, talking about your day, and they're like, yeah, I got a drink from Starbucks earlier. It fucking sucked. I think they made the meal wrong or the drink wrong. And you were like, oh, what happened? They were like, well, you know, the barista had blue hair, so they've probably never worked a day before in their life, and they give you a smile. Like, if you got mad at that, like, I think that means you have to take a step back for a second and think, like, okay, like, where are my lines for comedy, and how well am I communicating with people I disagree with? But what's the joke? The joke's the joke. The joke is like, oh, haha, blue hair, they've never worked before. I would make that joke. Haven't I made that joke? But, like, it's the way it's delivered, right? There's a joke. No, the joke is shit, but nonetheless, I think it's fine. I would make that joke. If I like, no, never mind. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. No, we're not getting into it. We're not getting into it. Sad that America like comes over democracy. I'm not trying to make any conspiracy, but this is like what Putin won. Oh yeah, no, 100%. The Yankee Tankie guy we talked to is just like a support. He's a nationalist for authoritarian countries that are anti-American. I mean, he literally like believed the election results for Assad and his father. Like he actually believed 99.7% of people voted in favor of Bashar al-Assad during a civil war in Syria. Like, at a time when he's fighting with protesters and warring against, like, rebel groups, he thinks, yeah, like, oh, yeah, well, obviously the country is completely aligned in support. Like, it's just, again, it's mental illness. It's insane. You can't argue with that. No critical thinking at all. How can you say Marxism-Leninism isn't communism when MLs are the only communists to actually carry out revolutions and build states? Well, that's the thing. I don't think they're communists. I mean, MLs aren't the only groups that do revolutions or carry out coups. Plenty of groups do that. Fascists, MLs, but I repeat myself. Thank you for Life of Heavening. I am Mother Teresa. You have brain leprosy. It's reality. Fuck that convo, man. Jesus Christ. I need you to look at this meme for why the USSR had to sign the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. My dude, you can cope as hard as you want, but they signed a peace deal with Nazis and carved up Poland. They were allies with the Nazis. There were Soviet Axis talks before the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact where Stalin was trying to negotiate more territory out of the pact with Hitler. Hitler broke off those talks because Stalin was being too greedy. There was no meaningful ideological difference between them here. They were just competing fascist powers. I wish, I know the Yankee Tankie guy never answered to it, but like, keep in mind, they will literally defend the USSR full-on allying with the Axis powers and carving up Poland, negotiating to conquer more territory in the future. But the fact that there are a few hundred Azov battalion people and the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians defending against Russian invasion, that means the whole country is Nazi. There's no real position here. Like I said, there's no actual set of beliefs. The only point is to humiliate when you talk with them, because they're allergic to truth. It's absolutely nothing else that can be done. People like Yankee is why I'm a sock dem. I don't want to be associated with crazy people like him. No! Idiot! The fuck do you mean? He's not a communist. You being a communist, what? You let them take the label? Oh, I wouldn't want to be associated with these fascists who call themselves socialists. Might as well call myself some kind of liberal. No, reclaim the label.